You want to know why we lost the war? The grizzled Zorvan veteran, Drek clicked his mandibles in frustration while sipping his drink. I'll tell you why. We never had a chance against those insane primates. The young journalist leaned forward, her antenna twitching with curiosity. She had heard stories about the human-Zorvan war, but first-hand accounts were rare. Most veterans preferred to forget. But surely the Empire had better military technology. She began. Drek let out a rough, chittering laugh. Better military? Let me tell you something about humans in war. You think you understand violence, combat? You don't. Asterisk. But our ships were better, the journalist argued. Drek smirked. Were they? Our ships were sleek, balanced, and built with perfect precision. Human ships? They were just massive metal blocks with engines strapped on. No fancy shields, just thick armor that could take a beating. We relied on precision. They relied on brute force. And their weapons? They used everything. Energy weapons, bullets, missiles, even biological and chemical attacks. If it could cause damage, they found a way to turn it into a weapon. The journalist hesitated. But surely there was some limit to their technology? Drek shook his head. No, that's the thing. Humans don't care about having the most advanced tech. They care about what works. They mix old and new. Laser rifles alongside regular guns. They'll use both. Advanced computers with backup manual systems. Of course, they don't throw away something just because it's old. If it's useful, they keep it. She scribbled frantically. So, their ability to adapt is their biggest strength? Drek exhaled slowly. Not just adapt, create. We followed military rules, calculations, logic. They saw battles as problems to solve. We thought we had the perfect fleet and the perfect plan. They outsmarted us by thinking outside the box. He took another drink. And that, my friend, is why we lost. The journalist frowned. But surely, humans couldn't have won through just brute force and adaptability. Drek chuckled darkly. Oh, you're catching on. No, they didn't just rely on firepower. They played with our minds. Psychological warfare? She asked, tilting her head. Exactly. They didn't just fight us physically. They attacked our thoughts, our morale. They studied our culture, our fears, our weaknesses, and then used that knowledge against us. The journalist leaned in. Give me an example. During the war, they didn't just destroy our fleets. They spread stories, rumors, urban legends. Soldiers whispered that humans could smell fear, that they would show mercy only if you surrendered immediately. Entire squads surrendered without firing a shot, because they were terrified of what humans might do. The journalist's mandibles twitched. But that's absurd. Of course, it was. But that's the thing about humans. They don't care if something sounds ridiculous. They care if it works. He shook his head. They weaponized information. They sent false data to lure us into ambushes. They infiltrated our networks, not to destroy them, but to confuse us, to make us doubt our own leaders. They shattered our confidence before the battle even started. She swallowed hard. That's horrifying. Drek finished his drink. And that's why they're so dangerous. Because to them, war isn't just about weapons or numbers. It's about control. And they're very, very good at taking control. The journalist's antenna twitched as she processed everything. So, it wasn't just their weapons, their tactics, or even their psychological warfare. There's something more, isn't there? Drek nodded slowly. Yes, the real reason we lost, humans enjoy war. The journalist stiffened. You mean they like killing? Drek shook his head. Not the killing. Not the destruction. Some of them do, and those ones are terrifying. But most? They love the challenge, the strategy, the problem-solving. They treat war like a game, a puzzle to be cracked. And they're very, very good at solving puzzles. She swallowed. So, while you were fighting a war, they were playing. Drek let out a bitter laugh. Exactly. We fought with science. They fought with art. We fought because we had to. They fought because they had spent their entire history preparing for something like this. He leaned back in his seat, mandibles clicking in thought. And you want to know the worst part? The journalist hesitated. What? Drek gestured to a group of humans at the other end of the bar. They were laughing, arm wrestling, placing bets. Look at them. Right now, they're just having fun, competing for the sake of competition. But I've seen what happens when you push them too far. When you threaten their people, their homes, their way of life. His voice dropped to a whisper. That's when you see why every species that has ever fought them has ended up either dead or surrendering. The journalist sat in stunned silence. So, there was no way to win against them? Drek chittered softly. No, not in the way we understood victory. Because to humans, war isn't just about survival. It's about proving something. And once they commit to a fight, they don't stop until they've won, or until they find something more valuable than victory. The journalist frowned. More valuable than victory? What could possibly be worth more than winning a war? Drek smirked. Peace. She blinked. That makes no sense. If they love war so much, why would they want peace? Drek exhaled slowly. Because they understand war better than anyone. They know its costs. And the best of them, their greatest heroes, aren't the ones who win wars. They're the ones who prevent them. The diplomats who find another way. The strategists who outthink a conflict before it even starts. The leaders who choose restraint when destruction would be easier. The journalist's antenna twitched. But if that's true, then why did they fight your people so brutally? Drek gave a dry, humorless laugh. Because we forced them to. Because we threatened them. Because we made them believe there was no other way. The journalist glanced at the humans across the bar, now singing a rowdy song about some old battle. So, what happens if someone makes that mistake again? Drek's mandibles clicked ominously. Then, they'll remind the galaxy why they're called the gods of war. The journalist shuddered, her grip tightening around her datapad. So, you're saying, as long as no one provokes them, humans are peaceful? Drek nodded. Exactly. They don't seek war. They don't crave conquest. But when war comes to them, they embrace it. They thrive in it. And they make sure their enemies never forget. Before the journalist could respond, the mood in the bar shifted. The humans who had been drinking, laughing, and singing just moments before had gone silent. She turned to see what had caught their attention. On the bar's holoscreen, a breaking news alert flashed. Urgent. Pirates attack civilian transport near the Carina Nebula. Refugee ship under siege. The journalist felt a shiver crawl down her spine. The change in the humans was immediate. Their posture straightened. Their casual smiles faded. Their eyes turned cold and focused. Drek muttered under his breath. And here it comes. A human woman, dressed in civilian clothes but moving with unmistakable military discipline, approached the journalist's table. Without asking, she sat down. Her voice was quiet, controlled. You want to know why we're really the gods of war? The journalist swallowed hard. Why? The woman gestured to the screen. Watch what happens next. The journalist barely breathed as she watched the humans in the bar. Some were making calls. Others were sending messages. Within moments, they were coordinating. There was no hesitation, no panic, just a cold, calculated response. What are they doing? She whispered. The woman across from her leaned in. They're mobilizing. The journalist's antenna twitched. But it's just pirates. The woman's expression darkened. They attacked a refugee ship. A ship carrying children. Do you understand what that means in human terms? The journalist hesitated, then shook her head. The woman exhaled. It means the rules just changed. On the screen, reports flooded in. Multiple naval vessels, human and allied, were already altering course. Task forces were assembling. Battle groups were forming. And it wasn't just humans. Ships from various species who had once been their enemies were joining them. The journalist's eyes widened. How? How are they moving so quickly? The woman smirked. Because we've been watching, waiting, preparing. Pirates like these? They've done this before. 3 years ago, they hit another refugee transport. We couldn't prove it was them, but we never forgot. We built networks, gathered intelligence, made allies. And now, she gestured to the screen. Now, they just gave us a reason to act. The journalist felt her throat go dry. You're telling me humans let this happen? Just to justify retaliation? The woman's eyes were cold. No, we didn't let it happen. But we made sure that if it did, we'd be ready. The journalist shivered. Drek Thal sighed. shaking his head. And that is why they're the most terrifying warriors in the galaxy. The journalist watched in disbelief as the reports continued to update. More ships were mobilizing, not just human vessels, but fleets from every major allied species. Her voice was barely a whisper. They're not just going after the pirates, are they? The woman across from her shook her head. No, they're ending them. The journalist's mandibles twitched in shock. But it's just pirates. Why such a massive response? The human's expression darkened. Because there are lines you don't cross. Attacking a civilian transport? Targeting refugees? That's one of them. When someone breaks those rules, we don't just punish them. We make an example of them. On the screen, real-time footage showed fleets converging on the Carina Nebula. Ships from a dozen different species moved in perfect coordination, cutting off escape routes and systematically surrounding the pirate vessels. How are they working together so smoothly? The journalist asked. Drekthal answered this time, his voice low. Because humans trained them. The journalist turned to him in surprise. Drek continued. After the war, humans didn't just share their technology. They shared their tactics, their strategies. They taught other species how to fight like them, how to think like them. They built alliances based on trust, not just power. The journalist watched as the pirate ships attempted to flee, only to be intercepted before they could even make it to hyperspace. She swallowed. So that's why they're dangerous. Not just because they're good at war, but because they make sure they're never fighting alone. The woman smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Exactly. On the screen, the first shots were fired. The battle had begun. The journalist couldn't tear her eyes away from the screen. The battle unfolding was unlike anything she had seen before. The humans and their allies weren't just attacking. They were executing a plan. Every movement was precise. Every strike was coordinated. It was as if they had already fought this battle 100 times in their minds before ever firing a shot. The pirate ships were falling one by one. Some tried to fight. Some tried to flee. None succeeded. And then something strange happened. The journalist's antenna twitched. Wait, they're offering the pirates a chance to surrender? The human woman nodded. Of course. The journalist turned to her, confused. After all this? After everything they've done? The woman shrugged. That's rule number 1 of human warfare. Always offer a way out. Always give your enemy the chance to surrender. The journalist frowned. But why? Why show mercy? Drekthal answered this time. Because their goal isn't to destroy their enemies. It's to make sure their enemies never want to fight them again. On the screen, most of the pirate ships powered down, accepting the offer. A few refused. The journalist watched as the remaining ships were methodically eliminated. No chaos, no unnecessary destruction, just ruthless efficiency. She shuddered. The woman across from her took a sip of her drink. That's the second rule of human warfare. If you refuse mercy, you will wish you hadn't. The journalist watched as the battle came to an end. The remaining pirate ships were either destroyed or captured. It was over in minutes. She exhaled slowly. That was decisive. The human woman nodded. It always is. The journalist glanced at the screen again. Medical ships were already moving in to assist the refugees. Human ships weren't just there to fight. They were there to clean up the mess. So it's not just about war, the journalist murmured. The woman smirked. No, war is just one tool in the human arsenal. The real weapon? It's trust. The journalist turned to her, confused. You saw how quickly other species joined the fight, didn't you? The woman continued. They didn't have to. They weren't ordered to. But they knew that when humanity fights, we fight for something bigger. We remember who stands with us. And when our allies need help, we answer. The journalist swallowed. That's why they followed you into battle. Drekthal nodded. That's why they'll do it again. The journalist's antenna twitched as she looked at the screen one last time. The humans weren't just feared. They were respected. And that, she realized, was what made them truly terrifying. The journalist sat back in her chair, staring at the holoscreen. The battle was over. The refugees were safe. The pirates were either dead or in custody. And the humans, they had already moved on. She turned back to the woman across from her. That's it? Just like that? It's over. The woman shrugged. That's the third rule of human warfare. Always finish the fight quickly. No drawn-out battles. No unnecessary suffering. End it and move forward. The journalist frowned. But what happens to the prisoners? Drekthal chuckled. They'll be treated well. Humans don't believe in pointless cruelty. But they also don't forget. Those pirates won't get another chance. The journalist hesitated before asking her next question. And what happens if someone else makes the same mistake? If another group tries to prey on the weak? The woman leaned forward, locking eyes with her. Then we remind them. The journalist shivered. She turned her attention back to the bar. The humans were laughing again, drinking, celebrating, as if they hadn't just crushed an entire pirate fleet. How? She whispered. How do they go from war to peace so easily? Drekthal sighed. Because to them, war isn't about hate. It's about necessity. They don't fight for fun. They fight because someone has to. And then they put it behind them. The journalist sat in silence, absorbing everything she had learned. She had come looking for a story about war. Instead, she had found a truth far more unsettling. Humanity wasn't just the most dangerous warrior species in the galaxy. They were the only ones who truly understood when not to fight. And that, she realized, made them more powerful than anyone could ever comprehend.